What is up, guys? We're back again with another one. As you can see, my clicker is working, so I don't gotta walk to and fro. Anyways, we're back with another video. Um, Here's a little messy. I've been home for like the last 4 days. Um, Anyways, enough about me. Let's dive into the video. So today I really want to talk about, what people expect of you in your early 20s, coming to your mid 20s, versus the reality, because the expectations and the reality are two crazy different things. There's like a huge disparity between what some of us are able to achieve and accomplish in our early 20s versus what people are expecting us to accomplish in our early to mid 20s, for the most part, your teens, your teen life, from your in high school till you graduate and go to college, or even graduate college, whatever, is like laying the groundwork for your early 20s, mid 20s, and even your late 20s, for your entire 20s. Pretty much the groundwork is laid from your high school years. Most of us, though, the problem is most of us either goof off or do the wrong thing or don't focus in those years if we don't have the right people behind us to support us and to push us into our full maturity, right? Most of us never reach that full maturity until much later on, i.e. now, like in your 20s, your early 20s, you're 21, 22, or you're 18, 19, and you're reaching into that maturity stage, and it's like, damn, I wish all the time that I had then I hadn't wasted, right? Because there's so much time, there's so many things that I wish I already had, right? That I see other people have, maybe some of your friends have, that you didn't, but maybe they had different circumstances, maybe they had better circumstances which pushed them, or maybe they had worse circumstances that pushed them. Better or worse circumstances can push people to do better. That's the craziest thing. So let's talk about the expectations versus the actual reality, right? So the first thing I want to talk about, the first lie, is the career lie, right? Which there's a lot of expectations that, in your 20, when you're 25 or you're like 24, you should be set career-wise. You should know what you want. You should be in your career, locked in, already graduated university or working on graduating university, graduated college, already had your trade programs done, and now you're working in the field that you want to be in for the next, let's not say your whole life, but the next decade, foreseeably, right? And that sometimes is just a straight up lie. Some people can be in a field that they feel they enjoy and then change their mind later, right? The expectation here is that we are the people who are outsiders to your life and not privy to your actual life. Even sometimes your family members, they expect you to be in a certain position because maybe you give off the idea that you're doing better than you actually are. Maybe you're good at hiding the facade, or maybe they just have high expectations, But people are expecting a lot from us, or new youngins coming up, you guys that are entering your 21, 22, 23 year old. People are expecting you to not be rich yet, but have the goals and have all the structure set in place to become rich, and that's just not true anymore. Things and times are changing, compared to 2010 or 2016. It's been vastly different, even compared to COVID. A lot of people don't get the guidance that they need to be able to function in a certain way, that to be able to function in a certain way that was socially acceptable in the past. There's a lot more effort that has to be done on your part to push yourself into the role that you want to be, now more than ever. Previously, there used to always be some source that was pushing you, whether it was a teacher from school, whether it was, just watching your peers, succeed, making you want to succeed, whether it was your parents that were pressuring you, whether it was a family member, but those environments those environments are slowly diminishing. With teachers being more and more less likely to speak up to students because some students are just straight up rude. Some parents don't want anybody talking to their teachers. There's just so many reasons. right? With parents being more like, with parents more with parents now more and more acting like the kids themselves, everything is changing, you know? So the reality is that there's not really much push for you to be in, there's not really much push for you to search for a career or something that you like to do long lasting or for the next decade, because a career doesn't have to be forever for the rest of your life. When you put it in your mind that the career that you choose is the career that you want to do for the rest of your life, then you kind of make you create a fallacy. You create pretty much a lie that you tell yourself, because most people don't stay in their career for the rest of their life. But you do need something that you can do and enjoy for the next foreseeable future that makes you money, that you enjoy doing. You don't mind waking up and going there and doing it. Maybe there are going to be days when you don't want to work, you want to have days off. That's fine. That's being human. You know, we're spontaneous, we're not predictable all the times. But something that you don't wake up and say, oh my God, I hate my life, I really have to go to work. And you punch in just for the sake of just for the sake of punching in, and you can't wait to punch out. Sorry, my nose. But yeah, that's the first lie, the career lie, right? So you got to watch out for that, because you shouldn't feel bad for not being in a position where you already want, where you're ready to decide your career or decide your future or decide what you want to do for the rest of your life or for the next foreseeable future. You shouldn't feel bad, and you shouldn't let anybody else make you feel bad, because the world is changing. And if anyone that's in their 30s or 40s being like, oh, you know, you should be farther ahead by now. Hey, the world was much different when you were going to high school versus when I'm going to high school, right? Everybody's situation is completely different. Like I see on Instagram, like these youngins now, like they go to high school fully masked up, all black, you know, like it's fucking crazy. But it's the way how the world is now. There's a lot more emphasis on self-expression, and that's not bad, right? But at a certain point, self-expression, your willingness to express yourself shouldn't take over the willingness for someone to want to guide you in a certain way. Nothing's wrong with being guided by someone, or if you want to guide yourself, or if you can guide yourself. The problem is most of us can't make the best decisions for ourselves when we're so young, which is why we need other people to push us. But we need the right people to push us, people who care about us and people who want to see us succeed, right? So that was the first fallacy, the career lie, right? Yeah, the next one is, oh, I gotta sneeze. Do I? No? Okay. Oh, excuse me. The next one is the lie of money, right? So there's a lot of expectations here that now that you're, you know, like you're 20, 25, you should have at least some savings. I do understand that a lot of like 20-year-olds are like pretty much like borderline broke. I know. The idea is here that people are expecting you to have some idea of how money works at the age of 20 to 25, or at least not be spending all willy-nilly, you know, not be reckless with your money. Open like a savings account, or have like maybe most people won't expect a 20-year-old to have a retirement account open. Like that's like a stretch. Like if you're 20 years old and you have a retirement account, like you're doing well, and if you're contributing to it. But people bare minimum expect you to have a savings account with like at least $1,000, $2,000. If you have a car and it's your car, and then you should at least have money to cover the maintenance or anything bad that could happen. That's totally fine, right? But the expectation here is that people are overemphasizing the importance of money, and the importance of you needing to be able to have skills to bring in money, right? And how you acquire those skills, or how you obtain your money, or whatever, right? The truth is, or the reality is, with the internet, with the age of the internet, which the internet's been around for a long time now, right? But with the age of social media, with the age of TikTok and all of that stuff, people find new revenues and ways of making money. Most people have more than one streams of having money come in, right? But most people still, like, you know, like your age, like 20, 21, 22, 23, are still spending money like crazy, because if you don't already have a plan for your money is already burnt up before it arrives, right? As soon as your money gets into your bank or you get paid or whatever, then if you're not putting it away, it's just disappearing, right? That's the reality of it. We live in a subscription culture. We live in a culture of, like um, fast food, Uber Eats, skip the dishes, DoorDash, and impulsiveness, right? And it's a little bit hard to escape that when it's so easy, right? We live in a culture where people are less able to help themselves and rely on outside sources. People don't really cook as much. Like most of the girls that you will meet in your lifetime don't know how to cook. Like that's crazy, right? Sometimes guys will be better cooks, and it's not that they don't know how to cook, it's just that there's never really been a need for them to know how to cook. If they have a boyfriend or if they grew up with their parents, their boyfriend can order them food whenever they please. They can spend their own money and order food. Their parents will cook for them. There's just been so many opportunities to not cook that there's just not enough opportunities for them to cook. So it's not a crazy idea to have a spouse that doesn't really know how to cook, in this day and age, right? But all of those things add up and bring up your monthly bill, your weekly bill, your weekly spending expenditure, like by a lot, by like 5 times, 10 times. And then when you compound that over a month, over a year, over the rest of your 20s, like a huge chunk of your money is going to convenience, right? So it becomes even more harder, especially if you're a good Samaritan and you're not trying to be one of those people who spend their money on stupid things willy-nilly. It still is hard to survive, especially if you're living on your own. You got rent, you got other expenses, right? And you got a lot of things that you need to really focus on, right? So controlling your spending is something that really takes a lot of practice and a lot of patience and a lot of like composure, and it needs to be habitual, right? It's something that you really need to learn, but it's not something that's readily available for you to learn, right? Like money is really a crazy one, because there's just a lot of expectations, and I know those expectations come with a lot of stress and a lot of burdens for a lot of people because you're just not there yet. If you're not there career-wise, then your career is usually what backs up your income, then you're definitely not there yet monetary-wise, right? So that's really the illusion here. And the fallacy is thinking that you will be okay and thinking that you'll be fine, when the only time you can really start making a serious dent in your finances is when you accept and admit that there's something wrong with your finances. There's something wrong that you need to do different, and there's some skills that you need to learn, right? One of the best ways to fix your finances is through sheer skill, learning more skills and using those skills to offset the cost of your living, right? You have to pay rent, right? You have to like buy groceries, right? But do you really need to order Uber Eats? Do you really need to get groomed that often? Do you really need a lot of these subscriptions that you have? Like in terms of gas and insurance and all of those things, maybe you definitely need car insurance, but maybe you could also become like a better driver per se, Maybe you could be a better driver so you don't have as high insurance. Who knows? Maybe you don't have high insurance, right? But driving is a skill, and it's an important skill. And when you become a good driver, then being a good driver will only beget benefits that a good driver is worthy of. Maybe it's cheaper insurance, maybe it's whatever. Same with being a good cook. Even if you don't know how to cook, you should at least learn some basic skills on how to cook, so some days you can prepare meals and cook dishes for yourself, right? So when you become a good cook, it begets the skills of a cook, which the reward is being able to manipulate food and ingredients, right? A lot of you guys have ingredients sitting in your fridge, and most of the times the ingredients die, right? Now, it's very easy to turn simple ingredients into a delicious dinner, into a delicious dish, but sometimes even your mind refuses to do that because it's so used to convenience, right? The same goes for grooming. You can learn the skill of grooming yourself, of shaving yourself. Maybe you can go and actually get a lineup. That's fine. but you can still shave your face. What's more important than a lineup at times is like your beard and under here. You know, those things are super important. Where it just comes to appearance sake, right? You know, like washing your face, brushing your teeth, staying well moisturized. All of those things are super important because they affect your appearance and they affect the aura that you give off. You know, and those things are inexpensive to do. It's only now where society, well, not society, but it's only now where certain agendas are being pushed that you need to go to the barber to get a haircut, right? Well, why is that? Because the barber needs to get paid. If the barber doesn't get paid, he doesn't have a job. So agendas are pushed, but it doesn't mean you have to accept everything. And it doesn't mean you should shut everything else out of your life entirely. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is create a balance for your life and minimize certain things that can keep money in your pocket instead of money leaving your pocket. Because if you don't already plan for it, then the money is already gone before you even get it, right? That's the most important thing. The next and final fallacy or final lie is your lifestyle, the lifestyle lie, whether that's the car, the apartment, or the image of the life that you kind of have to, you tell people that you live or what people feel like you live, you know. So the expectation here is that people are expecting you, or family members or whoever, or people just have this idea in their head that, oh, you know, you've moved out of your parents and things have been going good for a while, so you must have a nice car, you have a nice place. Excuse me, guys. You're traveling, you always got to be outside. And maybe no one's projecting that image onto you, but you feel pressured, so maybe you're trying to project that image onto the world and have other people believe that that's the lifestyle that you're living, even if it's not, right? And there needs to be a serious reality check for this, because lifestyle inflation and just living outside your means is crazy. It's unbelievably crazy. Rent is one thing, right? Rent, you have to pay rent to live, but it doesn't mean you have to live in the nicest neighborhoods or the best zip codes or whatever, right? As long as you can live in a place where you can feel safe walking home or driving home or leaving your car or whatever, and it can be as fancy as you want, but you have to realize the more you pay for rent is the more you sacrifice your monthly allowance for how much you can spend on other things. Your car, some people, it's easier now more than ever to finance or lease like a really nice car, because the payments come monthly and you don't really think about the monthly payments. The crazy thing is that the monthly payments really add up and they think about you all the time, right? You got to make the car payment, you got to make the insurance payment, you got to make the rent. So between car payment, insurance, and rent, that's probably already more than half of the average person's salary, of the average 25-year-old's monthly wage, right? Especially if you're not in trade, where, especially if you haven't reached that level in your trade, or you haven't finished your law degree or your doctorate degree, or if you're not working, or if you know, like, it's already impossible. Oh god, my nose. My nose is killing me, guys. Oh my gosh. Something's making my sinuses go crazy. But my point is, you know, like, we have to stop perpetuating or like spinning this idea that people have to live this certain type of life. In your 20s is the time you should explore and live whatever life suits you and whatever life pleases you, right? But you shouldn't feel pressured by your peers, by your family. You know, I'm pretty sure most people, their mom and dads aren't the ones pressuring them. It's your friends, it's your family, it's society. It's when you go out on the street and you see this nice girl that you want to talk to, but you worry that, oh, you know, like, is my car good enough? Is my place, like, whatever, if she comes over to my place, is she gonna like it, this, that? Don't worry about those people. That's their expectation. Don't make it into your reality, because the reality is that life is not easy for anyone, right? Even if somebody has a crazy high expectation of you, they might not even be living that same reality or that same expectation of you that they have. They might be even a worse situation. And if there is someone that has a high expectation of you and they are in a better situation, right, then like you don't necessarily need that person if that person is not willing to understand the situation you're in and what you're trying to work through, especially when you're young and coming up. When you're younger, you have more chances and more options and more opportunities to make mistakes for when you're older. Now that you've passed your teens, you're in your 20s, you remember that you're laying the groundwork for your 30s, right? The idea is now in your 20s, you don't want to overexert yourself because you want to make your 30s a breeze. And the idea is when you're in your 30s, you want to make you've already laid the groundwork and you've already laid the foundation. Now you're just building on it. So there, when you're in your 30s, you have more room for error. I don't know, I'm not in my 30s yet, right? I'm in my late 20s. So, but I'm telling you what I'm thinking going into my late 20s, going into my 30s, right? You have more room for error because you've already created a foundation. And if you make some mistakes here or there, the foundation's already there, and some things can be knocked down and you can still build on the same foundation you did from your 20s. So you'll thank yourself. And the message I'm sending is the message I send every single video. Always do things that will be in the best interest of your future self. Right? So don't worry about the lifestyle, don't worry about the finances, don't worry about the career, right? Because you still have the time to figure that out. And the time is now to figure that out. Don't worry about what other people are saying, because other people will never live the same life as you, and other people will never be in the same, what is the word, epoch? Other people will never be in the same, will be in the same boat or the same decade or the same century or whatever as you. Other people will never have the same life as you. You were born in a special moment of time that you were born in, right? And that you were created and that you were brought into. And you were brought up, we're all brought up in a special instance where every time life is changing, right? Now, America and all these other countries are at war, right? So that's affecting the world in crazy ways, in ways we can't even think of. 10 years ago, that wasn't the case, right? 15 years ago, 20 years ago, that wasn't the case, right? Before 9/11, after 9/11, before a lot of these things happened in the world, right? There's a lot of changes that the world is undergoing, right? Just as the same way you're undergoing changes. So you shouldn't really be concerned about what the opinions of others are, as long as you can raise your own opinion of yourself. And that doesn't come by living a reality, that doesn't come by living up to the expectations of others. It comes by living in your own harsh, true reality, right? So what actually matters in your 20s, just to close up, is work ethic, discipline, learning skills, and saying no to people, right? Focus on finding something that you enjoy doing, get paid for that, and put all of your effort into that thing, right? Don't let people trick you into doing stuff you don't want to do. Say no, because no is gonna save you a lot of time and a lot of money, right? That saying no is also building discipline as well, right? Learning skills is gonna be super important, because skills is what's gonna bring you into the next chapter of your life. Those skills that you learn, like how to shave yourself, you'll only get better at it. How to cook, you'll only get better at it. How to drive, you'll only get better at it, right? How to manage your money, you'll only get better at the skills once you start learning them. The hardest part is starting today, right? Stop measuring yourself by timelines, by what car you drive, what apartment you live in, or social media. Social media is going to be the death of us, quite literally. Use your 20s to set the floor for your 30s and not to chase any fake ceilings. We're not chasing for any ceilings. We're just trying to set the groundwork, as I said, right? If you guys enjoyed this content, like and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see more. Let the algorithm know by commenting, liking, sharing this video. And yeah, that's me for this one. Peace out.